Let's start our session, team. I'll start with Spring IOC. I'll start with Spring IOC. So I told you, right, we are having some Spring modules. Spring IOC, Spring JDBC, Spring MVC, Spring ORM, AOP. I'll start with one by one. Okay. I'll start with Spring IOC now. Okay. Take these modules, everybody. I'll start with Spring IOC now. I'll tell you how we are going to work with Spring IOC. Let us start with Spring IOC. Spring IOC, we call it as dependency injection. Dependency injection. The main aim of dependency injection is to achieve loose coupling. The main aim of dependency injection is to achieve loose coupling. Is to achieve loose coupling. Okay, so how we are going to work? I'll be showing you one by one. So what is basically coupling is of two types now. Coupling is of two types. One is tight coupling, another one is loose coupling. Tight coupling means directly by creating an object for another class. For example, class test, we have class main. For example, test t is equal to new test. Okay, so it is depending on another class. For example, if you have some method, if we call that method, right, this concept we call it as a tight coupling. Loose coupling means just we are going to create a reference. Okay, how we are going to create a reference, I'll be showing you with an example in Spring IOC. Okay, this is what tight coupling. Loose coupling means just we are going to create a reference. How we are going to create the reference, all those things I'll be showing you with an example now. To work with the Spring IOC, we have two containers basically. To work with Spring IOC, we have two containers. Okay, one is bean factory, second one is application context. XML bean factory implementation class is XML bean factory. Application context implementation class is class path XML application context. Okay, we are having these two implementation classes. Okay, now how we are going to work. Now I'll show you how we are going to work with Spring IOC. One example, remaining things will be very easy. As a part of Spring IOC, we are having the following modules. Okay, like we are going to work with primitives. We are going to work with dependency object. Next, we need to work with collections, and we need to work with map. Okay. Again, before going to discuss about this, one more important thing is dependency injection is of two types. Dependency injection is of two types. One is constructor injection, second one is setter injection. One is constructor injection, second one is setter injection. How we are going to work with constructor and setter injection, I will be showing you now. Each and every here collections with string type of data is there, and non-string type of data also is there. String type of data and collections with non-string type of data. Map with string type of data, map with non-string type of data. Okay. Now do one thing. Take these points. I'll show you. No, before taking these points, take this one also. Steps to develop a Spring IOC application. Okay. We need to know the steps. Step one, create a Pojo class. Step two, create a configuration file. Step three, create test.java. Okay. Now take these things. I'll show you with an example how we are going to work. Take it fast. Done now. And take one important note here. As we are working with Spring Framework, we need to add the Spring jar files. We need to add the Spring jar files. As we are working with. Yesterday I shared the projects, right? As we are working with the Spring Framework, we need to add the Spring jar files. Okay. Yeah, once you're done, just let me know. I'll show you with an example of how we are going to work. Let's go with an example now. Let me open our Eclipse. I'll start with primitives, then we go for other things. what I'll do is file, new Java project, Spring AOC. New package, new class card. So I am starting with constructor injection. Once if you're good with constructor injection, we can go for the other things. Okay, let me create a class called employee. In this employee class, let me take some properties. Okay, like ID, name and salary, private int ID, private string name, salary. Alt Shift S O, click on OK. Alt Shift S, yes, click on OK. Okay. Now I'm going to create, see, whenever we are working with frameworks, for every framework, we will be having a configuration file. I am working with Spring framework, you will be having a Spring configuration file. Right click on SRC other XML file. Spring config.xml file. See here, Spring configuration file. Okay, first link, Control F, Java EE. This is the schema. Schema we need to take from the Google. Okay. Now I'm going to create a reference bean ID. Usually in Java, we are creating by using new keyword, we are creating an object, right? But when we are working with Spring Framework, we are going to define like this: bean ID is equal to emp bean. We can feel like it is an object. Class is equal to com dot madhu dot spring dot employee. And by using constructor hyphen arg, we need to define constructor hyphen arg value is equal to 101. Madhu. Salary is equal to something. So whatever the order we have given, in the same order we need to pass the values here. You know, right? In core Java, whenever you create a parameterized constructor, we are going to do the same, right? In the same manner, we are going to define like this. Okay. Now, let me download the Spring jar files from my Google. Somewhere I may be having, but I'll download here. Driver. Let me download the jar files. I'm downloading the jar files. Those jar files I'll be adding to my application. If you want, I'll share this link as well with you. Once again, I'm sharing the Spring jar files link here. Everyone take the link from chat box. downloaded. Let me go to downloads. These are the jar files. Right click, WinRAR, extract here. We need to extract the jar files. After extracting, these are the jar files we are having. All these jar files we need to add to our application. Let me open Eclipse. Why? Because if you want to work with those containers, containers are nothing but usually we call it as containers, but those are interfaces. Those are what? Interfaces. You know how to add the jar files. Already I have shown you in Hibernate, right? In the same manner, we need to add. Right click on your project. Right click on your project, build path, configure build path, add library, user library, user libraries. I want new Spring jars. Here we need to add external jars. Go to downloads. These are my jar files. Right click, new class called, sorry, we need to create a class called tester. So we have bean factor and application context, right? By using those containers, we are going to call the configuration file and we are going to execute it. New class called test. In this test.java main method. Even though we have two containers, bean factor and application context, we are going to work with application context only. The reason is application context supports the latest features of Spring. Okay. Application context supports the latest features of Spring. Let me use application context here. Application context is equal to application context is equal to new class path XML application context of spring config.xml file. Okay. Now employee is equal to employee of context dot get bean of emp bean. Employee dot toString method. Save it and run it. Okay. Like this, we are going to work. Clear? And one important thing what you need to understand here is if you are working with constructor injection, we need to create a parameterized constructor. Whenever we define a parameterized constructor, here we need to use constructor hyphen arg tag. By using constructor hyphen arg tag, we are going to pass the value. If you want to define multiple values, then we will be going for collection. That is a different concept. Okay, now? Are you getting my point, team? Now, can you take this code? I'll show you how we are going to work with setter injection. Fine. Let me open the configuration file. How to enter the data in database using Spring. In Spring configuration file, we are going to define. No, Shubham, you are showing in Spring Boot, but while working with Spring, we need to define Spring configuration file. Whatever you have given, right? Okay. Yeah, take the configuration file, these lines. I'll show you how to work with header injection. I'm not getting your screen. What about others? Are you able to see my screen, team? Can you rejoin if you're not able to see my screen? Yeah. Just not take test.java. Test.java is same for all the examples, ma. Now can we go for setter injection? Sir, once show the notepad. LMS is not working now. I'll inform once. Just a second. Yeah. If you have not taken these things, just take these things. I'll be giving 2 minutes time. I'll show you how we are going to work with setter injection, and I'll be giving some assignments for you now. Can you go a bit little up? Yeah. From here you need. Okay, fine. Can I continue? Let's go for setter injection now. See here. For now, I'll be keeping this logic in comments now. Whenever we are working with setter injection, we need to take setters and getters here. If you're working with setter injection, you need to take setters and getters. And let me keep these lines in comments. If you're working with setter injection, in the place of constructor hyphen tag, so please share the notes at the end of the session. That is very useful for us. Sure, I'll share the notes now. When we are working with setter injection, we need to use property tag to define the values. First, I'll show you how to work with setter injection. Then I'll explain you when we need to go for constructor injection and when we need to go for setter injection. Property name is equal to ID. Value is equal to 101. Property name is equal to name. Value is equal to Madhu Kumar. Property name is equal to salary. Value is equal to some 55,000. Like this, we are going to define. Okay. Now in test.java, if I run this code successfully, it is going to be executed. Okay. So when we need to go for constructor injection, when we need to go for set injection. If you want to pass the values for all the arguments, then go for constructor injection. But if you have 20 variables, if you want to pass the values for only 3 or 4 variables, then go for set injection. Are you getting my point? Why? Because you know, right? You know, right? Whenever we are creating a parameter constructor, you need to pass the values for all the things. Sir, user data dynamically can enter. When we are working with Spring MVC, at that time you can enter. Through generally, if you work with any application, you are going to pass the values from UI, right? We are going to work with Spring MVC. At the time, we are going to pass those values we used to pass dynamically. Okay, through registration form. Okay. Now take this. You can write like just like comments in citizen getters. You need to take this one. I'll show you. Uh, you understood, right? Any questions you have, team? If you have any questions, you can post your questions. I'll explain you. Done, right? So once share project folder. This is what the project folder. Next one is dependency object. Okay. How we are going to work with dependency object, I want to show you now. After dependency object, you need to work with collections and map. I'll explain about the concept of Spring JDBC. Okay. Let's go for the next concept is dependency object. See how we are going to work with dependency object. File, new, Java project, Spring IOC, dependency object. Both constructor injection and second injection I will show in the same example. Let me create a package. Let me create a class called employee. Private string name, float, salary. Okay. Now dependency object we need, right? So what I will do, private address, address. Okay. Now we don't have a class called address, right? First I'm going to create a class called address. Click on finish. Private address ID, private string city, private string state, private string country. Okay. We are working with constructor injection, right? So we need to define like this. Alt Shift S O. Click on OK. Alt Shift S. Yes, click on OK. Okay. Here also Alt Shift S O. Click on OK. Click on OK. Like this, we are going to work. Now let me create a configuration file. Anyway, we have this configuration file that I'm taking from here. I'll show you how we are going to work with dependency object now. in this configuration file. Let me delete these things for now and see here. We have two classes, right? So we need to create two beans basically. Are you getting my point, team? We have two classes now. One is employee class, another one is bean class, address class. Bean ID is equal to add bean string dot com dot mother dot spring dot address. Like this, separate beans we need to define. Here you'll get to know the advantage of working with Spring framework in a better way. Constructor hyphen arc. I am working with Eclipse Oxygen. Okay. Just you can go to Google Eclipse Oxygen or download you can use. Okay. And I'm working with Java 8 version. Okay. Now constructor hyphen arc value is equal to address ID. City Hyderabad. What are the properties we have given here? City, state, country. So we need to define these things. Can I work with Eclipse Mars? You can use any Eclipse. If you are able to work right, you can develop the code. That's it. Okay, now state Telangana. These properties we have, so I'm defining all these things. India. Okay. Now reference, right? Constructor hyphen arg. Totally we have given here four attributes: ID, name, and salary and address. But address is not a value; it is a reference. So what we need to do, constructor hyphen arg reference we need to pass. Reference is equal to add bean. Whatever we have here, this one copy and paste it here. Like this, we are going to define. Test.java I'll take from the previous example. Then nothing to change. Just we are calling the configuration file and we are calling the bean. Copy it and paste it. Right click on your project, build path, configure build path, add library, user library, Spring jars, apply and close. Successfully it is going to be executed. Like this, we need to work. Okay, na? Clear, right? We can also work with Spring Tool Suite for. I never recommend anyone to work with Spring Tool Suite for Spring applications. Spring Tool Suite is especially designed for Spring Boot applications. Okay, so yeah, when we are working with Spring Boot, right, we'll use STS only anyway from next week. When we are working with Spring applications, please work with Eclipse only. Yeah, for Java only. What I'm saying is for Spring applications, I mean Spring IOC, JDBC, MVC, for all these things, use this one only, Eclipse only. When you're working with Spring Boot, use STS. Got my point? Sir, one by one, show all the files for screenshot. Okay, just a second, I'll show them. Employee.java, yeah, take it. Yeah, let me open the next file. Fine, is it done? Can I open test.java? Spring configuration file. Yeah. Sir, can you please suggest some real-time projects on Spring Hibernate using XML? Yeah, you can develop any kind of project like hospital management system, banking system, e-commerce, anything you can take. Okay. Yeah. Now take test.java. Completed? Fine, I have a quick question, team. We discussed, please share some real-time project. Sure, I'll share the links. I'll prepare some abstracts and I'll be sharing you so that you can work on it. Okay, now? Fine. I have a quick question here. Similarly, you need to work on collections and map. I'll be sharing you some requirements. Those are very easy, just like these examples what we have discussed. Now I want to discuss about the concept of Spring JDBC. Before going to discuss about Spring JDBC, can you tell me the problems of working with JDBC? Anyone? Already for Hibernate also I have discussed these points. Can anyone tell me what are the problems we are having in what are the problems we are having in what is it? JDBC. Yeah, you can share the points in chat box. Do it fast. Very difficult to change the database in the middle of project. Correct. And JDB doesn't support inheritance and relationships. Correct. 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 JDBC template we are going to use in Spring JDBC. It has to manage database manually by writing queries. If we want to insert the data, we need to create a table manually. But while working with Spring also, we need to create a table manually. But while working with Spring with Hibernate, then we don't need to create. Fine. Now I will tell you the advantages of working with Spring JDBC. Okay, na? You'll have some better idea. Lot of boilerplate code, of course. Now see here, I'll tell you some problems. I want to discuss about the concept of Spring JDBC. Before going to discuss about the concept of Spring JDBC, I want to discuss JDBC problems. A few already you told. A few whatever you are not aware, those things I'll explain. JDBC problems, boilerplate code, manual resource management, like we need to create connection object, statement object, result set, manual resource management, error handling, and we need to handle exceptions. But when we are working, JDBC directly throws SQL exception, which is not user friendly. Okay, that is the reason. It is also a biggest issue. Error handling, poor exception translation means proper meaningful message we are not going to get. Poor, of course, that is also one of the issue. It is very difficult to change the database in the middle of application development. Poor exception translation, limited scalability, tight coupling. JDBC code is tightly coupled with SQL queries. It is very harder to maintain and modify. Tight coupled. And one more problem is the transaction management. We are going to handle the transactions programmatically. It is very complex and we may have errors in JDBC. Transaction management. These are the problems we are having. Advantages of Spring JDBC. First thing, simplified resource management means we have a predefined class called JDBC template. We are going to work with those. First, take the problems. I'll show you the advantages now. Take the problems. I'll show you the advantages of working with Spring JDBC, and I'll show you the structure of working with Spring JDBC. Let's go for advantages now. You'll have some better idea. Yes, the first advantage is simplified resource management, less boilerplate code, consistent error handling, built-in transaction management. I'll explain you anyway. Improved productivity. All these are advantages. Improved productivity, query parameterization, like reducing the risk of SQL injection attacks. Query parameterization. Yes, it is solving some issues. Integration with ecosystem. It is going to simplify the configuration and management. Okay. Integration with Spring ecosystem, custom callbacks, ease of testing. Testing is easy. Mocking and testing Spring JDBC code is easier. Custom callbacks, ease of testing, batch processing. Okay, these are the points we are having. Let me explain you what is each one. Simplified resource management means basically we have a predefined class called JDBC template. We are going to work with that one. JDBC template. Okay. Spring JDBC template automatically manages resource closing. Like we can automatically connection is going to be created, statement object. We don't need to write all these things. It is going to reduce the risk of resource leaks. Okay. We don't need to write all these things. Less boilerplate code. Basically, Spring JDBC significantly reduces the boilerplate code. Okay, more code which is going to remove it. That is what the advantage. Are you getting my point? You are able to understand, right, what I'm trying to explain here? Why we are going for Spring JDBC? Consistent error handling. Consistent error handling. Like basically, Spring translates SQL exception into a set of more meaningful and consistent runtime exceptions, so that error handling will be very easier. Built-in transaction management means so basically, it simplifies complex database operations. It simplifies complex database operations. Next thing, improved productivity. So basically, we will be having APIs and database interaction is faster and easier to implement. Okay, and integration with the Spring ecosystem means we can interact with dependency injection, all those things. Okay, and as I told you, testing will be very easy. Now take these points. I'll explain the structure of working with Spring JDBC. Now take down. Don't take, listen first. Steps to develop a Spring JDBC application, how we are going to work. Step 1, create a Pojo class. Step 2, you know already Pojo class means it's a combination of private variables and public methods. But as a part of our requirement, according to our requirement, we are going to define a default constructor and parameterized constructor also. Based on the requirement, we are going to define those things. Second step is create a configuration file. Okay, we call it as what? Spring configuration file. Here we are going to define the database properties and hybrid properties. Step 3, create DAO class. For example, if our class is employee, we are going to define with some meaningful employee DAO. So what we are going to define inside this employee DAO, we are going to create a separate method for each CUD operation. For the purpose of inserting the data, we are going to create a separate method. For the purpose of updating, we are going to create a separate method. For the purpose of deleting, we are going to create a separate method. So according to the requirement, we are going to use these methods of this employee DAO class. Okay. Finally, step 4, create test.java. Yeah, if you want, I'll show you some example tomorrow. But in the meanwhile, if you want to try, you can try with these steps. DAO stands for data access object. DAO stands for data access object. DAO stands for data access object. For example, Pojo means plain old Java object. Okay, nothing but it's a combination of private variables and public methods. Our encapsulation concept is there, right? The same thing. And if you want some real-time project, right? For example, you create a banking project as per Spring ADBC I'm showing you. Create a banking project. As per the project, what we need to do here, you will be having customers, right? Create customer.java. Here you will be having ID, name, email, city, state, country. We are having some properties, assume. Okay. Now, second thing is Spring configuration file. Spring configuration file contains database properties and JDBC template and employee DAO also we are going to define here. Okay. Here you will be having database properties. Okay. And we are going to define the JDBC template also. Okay. These things we are going to define. Okay. And customer DAO dot Java. Here, for the purpose of insert, separate method, update, separate method, delete, separate method, retrieve, separate. Like this, we are going to create test.java to execute our code or for the testing purpose. Okay. I will be giving bit more clear. I'll prepare some projects for you people for the purpose of Spring ADBs and all those things. You can work on it. Yeah, I'll upload in the same link. Yesterday I have uploaded, right? In the same link I'll be uploading. Fine then. I'm stopping for now, team. Just a second, I'll be sharing the feedback link with you guys. Why we use Java 8 when we have standard upgrade versions like Java 17 or Java? So maybe we may face compatibility issues. That is the reason I'm working with Java 8. If your Eclipse is compatible with Java 17, you can use. Coding will be same, right? Either Java 17 or Java 21. Functionalities will be same. The only thing is in Java 17 and 21, you will be having some extra predefined classes according to the requirement. Let me give the feedback link. Okay, fine. I am stopping for now, team.